leader in Europe and the world. That is how Silvio Berlusconi once described himself. And without a doubt, he was a powerful political operator and businessman who sparked more than one scandal. And despite a string of legal trouble and dubious friends, Berlusconi always managed to bounce back.
Mi ha troppo emozionato.
He made his name as a business tycoon. He owned the famous AC Milan football club for 31 years. At one point, he was the richest man in Italy.
I have always been adored by those who have worked with me.
First elected as prime minister in 1994, he was quickly removed when his coalition partners pulled out. But he was elected to the top job twice more, in 2001 and 2008, becoming Italy's longest-serving prime minister since World War II. And voters brought him back to power in 2022 as a coalition partner with Giorgia Meloni and Matteo Salvini. Charming and with a flippant sense of humor, Berlusconi's off-the-cuff remarks and missteps with protocol were often criticized. He welcomed the newly elected U.S. president in 2008 by complimenting Barack Obama on his, quote, suntan, and left German Chancellor Angela Merkel waiting during a NATO summit. And his close friendship with Vladimir Putin got him in hot water after he disclosed he had re-established his friendship with the Russian president in late 2022, after Putin sent him 20 bottles of Russian vodka for his birthday. He later blamed Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky for starting the war, putting him at odds with Meloni. The Prime Minister often surrounded himself with beautiful women. Allegations of a relationship with an 18-year-old aspiring model, which he strenuously denied, triggered a painfully public divorce. And revelations about his so-called bunga parties landed him in court on charges of abuse of power and having sex with an underage prostitute, allegations he also denied.
It is absurd to think that I have paid to have rapport with a woman.
Meanwhile, the Eurozone was going through a financial crisis. Italy was hit hard and the government's debt ballooned to 120% of the GDP in August 2011. The Italian Prime Minister promised to crack down on tax evasion and introduce other austerity measures, but it was not enough. Berlusconi lost his majority in parliament and was forced to resign as Prime Minister in November 2011. In 2012, he was convicted of corporate tax fraud and banned from public office. Months later, an Italian court found Berlusconi guilty on the charges stemming from the bunga parties. An appeals court later overturned the conviction. He was voted out of parliament in 2013. 2 years later, convicted of bribing a senator a decade before, but never served time since the statute of limitations timed out in the same year.
Io sono innocente!
At the age of 82, Berlusconi managed another comeback. He led his Forza Italia party in the European elections and won a seat in parliament. A month before he turned 86, he led the party back to power as the junior partner of the current ruling coalition. In the summer of 2020, a few weeks away from turning 84 years old, Berlusconi was struck by COVID-19 and was hospitalized for 12 days. He called that experience the most dangerous test of my life, and boasted to journalists that his viral load entity of the virus
was the highest one amongst tens of thousands.
Few could match the one and only Silvio Berlusconi. And even though the, quote, Teflon Don, as he was known, was in and out of the hospital in his later years, he always managed to look remarkably younger than his years.